Inside this episode of the Crush the Rush podcast, I'm sharing the behind the scenes of something completely transformative and how I think about my business so differently. And it did not involve more content or a complicated funnel. Instead, I used a combination of AI and human design to map out the personality of my business. I literally ran a human design chart for this podcast. And so inside this episode, you're going to hear how I discovered my podcast is a projector and what to do with that, why your business evolves just like you do, and how to reflect that in your messaging. How I used AI to build a brand thread that now drives everything from copy to content launches, and 3 simple steps you can take to clarify your voice, tone, and marketing energy today. So, whether your brand feels a little all over the place or you're just craving more life first ways to show up online, this episode is going to reconnect with your message and create a strategy that feels just like you. Welcome back to the Crush the Rush podcast. Today, I am sharing that something that has completely changed how I see my business. And no, it's not a funnel or an offer or a new shiny system. It is a mindset shift and a strategy that's helped me get clearer, calmer, and honestly, way more aligned in how I show up. I used AI and human design to map out the personality of my business. Yes, I treated it like a person, which maybe we all should. I don't know. And what I discovered made me rethink everything from how I plan episodes to how I make decisions. And spoiler alert, you can do the same thing, and it's totally free. So you're going to want to definitely take notes on this episode. But if you've ever felt like your messaging is off, your content doesn't sound like you, you're not sure how to describe your business in a way that feels right, then this one is for you. So here's a little backstory of why I did this in the first place. When we relaunched Antisocial School earlier this year, I added something that I had never done before, and that is our AI bot squad. So tools like Layla, the layout legend, and Betty, the blogger, were built to help you write smarter, market easier, and really just get some time back, right? There's a lot of in-person strategy and there's a lot of strategy that is only your own, but we can use these tools to work a little bit faster. So I had this moment where I was like, man, if AI can do all of that, what if I used it even deeper to understand my own personality and the personality of our brand? So it's not metrics or offers. It's more like the essence, which is where it gets a little woo. But what does your business really sound like? What if your business was a person? How would they talk? What does your business want to know? When no one is looking? And what kind of energy does your business need to thrive? And so I ran a full audit. This took me, actually, it didn't take that long. It took me a half hour using AI, personality traits that I have, and human design. And I ran it on our podcast. So your business has a start date, right? And your start date could be when you filed your LLC, when you had the idea, when you started a podcast. And so I ran a human design chart on our podcast, and that's honestly when it got so good, so good. So yes, this podcast is a person and she's got a personality, and here's what it looked like. So let's just take a little detour and I'll walk you through how I did it. I gave the podcast a birth date. So the birth date was the very first day that this podcast aired, which was March 7th, 2020. Fun fact, that's when the first COVID case officially hit the United States on the West Coast. I will never forget it, but we still ran with the podcast, and thank goodness we did. So inside ChatGPT, I specifically said, I want to run a human design chart on our business podcast. Here's the launch date. So it was the date, the time, the location. Now, the time I did midnight, and I know for all of my human design experts, the time really does matter. But I do think the first podcast episode came out at midnight, like I scheduled it. So I think it's pretty close. Here's what it came back with. Are you ready? The podcast is a projector with an emotional authority of a 6'2", which is the role model, which is a 6, and the hermit, which is a 2. And if you've listened to this podcast a few times, I talk about I'm a 4-2, which I'll share. And the hermit is really, really important. It's been very life-changing to me to know that I have like hermit tendencies. And so it was really interesting to me that the podcast is also a hermit. And so then I went back into ChatGPT and I said, please tell me what this means. And it just, dumped out all the things. And so as a projector in business, the podcast is not here to hustle. It's here to guide and teach and to share deep, thoughtful insight. I mean, can we just pause and talk about how I just paused over the summer and now we're back and now we have more energy because we really curated our projector tendencies. I mean, I don't know. It like blows my mind a little bit. It's so fun. So the next thing it said was this podcast is designed to thrive when it's invited into bigger conversations, not forced into them. So what does that mean? Aligned collaborations, referrals, features, speaking invites, not constant look at me energy on social. Now, keep in mind, I had not really trained this thread on anything. It was like fresh and new. It didn't know anything else except the birth date of the podcast. Like collaborations, yes. Referrals, yes. Features, yes. Speaking invites, yes. Social, sometimes, right? Like it's so good. So then it said with an emotional authority, the podcast it's speaking as an I, the podcast, need to feel things before I act. So the best episodes come from when I let an idea marinate and they are never rushed, which is so true. I do so much better when I like write down an idea for an episode. Then I'll write down notes of what I want to talk about and then I'll record it. Like there's a 3-step process that I take. I never just sit down and record without some attention and intention. And so I feel like that was right on. And so the 6'2" profile is really a blend of wisdom and retreat. Some seasons are on and other seasons are behind the scenes. Like how many behind the scenes episodes do we do? This is how this show works best. Okay, so once I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm dead. Like I can't believe this. So I just kept going. And so I want you to pause this podcast and run the human design on your business and tell me how you feel once you do it, right? I want to know. I want to know what it is and how you feel about it. But then the fun part is I combined the two and I said, great, here's my human design. If you don't know it, it will run it for you. And I said, I'm a 2-4 manifesting generator, which means I'm like energetic and multi-passionate. I move fast. I am a 2-4, which is a hermit and an opportunist. So an opportunist means that I really need to take the next step quickly. Like I feel good about that. I am the sacral authority, which means I instantly know in my gut what is yes or what is no. And I have to remind myself that I need to pause. Now, most of the time, my decisions will not change. I know in like 30 seconds, I make freaky fast decisions. But what this means is I just need to pause and keep going. So then I asked it how to interact best, right? So it gave me all kinds of things. It created this little chart and it said, I'm a projector and a manifesting generator. How do they interact? Well, we have to create momentum. The podcast refines it and I channel it. I start the spark and the podcast helps us get into deeper spaces. I act quickly and the podcast, thanks to technology, asks me to slow down, right? So both need downtime. Yes. Both shine through authenticity and relationships, which is so cool. Okay, so the next step then is after defining my podcast vibe, so after defining your business vibe, I went into one of our custom bots and started applying it to our brand, right? So I started asking questions like, given what I just shared with you, what's the tone of this brand? What type of marketing strategy fits this kind of energy? And what should we lean into more of and let go of? And what came back was like wild. It was wild because it fit like how I was feeling at the time. plus like what our podcast was experiencing at the time. And it really helped me shape what our sales plan and our like just what were we going to focus on for the next quarter. But it was very tied to human design and like how we're feeling. And it was, I don't know, it's so fun. I really hope that you do this. So the questions were, help me understand the tone of this brand based on what you just shared. What type of marketing strategy fits this kind of energy? And what should we lean into more of and let go of? It was honestly like reading a letter from a future version of myself. And it told me that our brand is clear and consistent and thoughtful, which was a good reminder. It thrives on strategy, but we need to make sure to incorporate more soul, which goes back to what I shared last week about how we're changing the podcast a little bit. And it needs space to be brilliant. And to me, this was just like, okay, I could take a deep breath. It's okay to pause. It's okay to do things differently. And it was just, I don't know, it was like having a therapist that like knew my business and knew me at the same time. So with all that clarity, I now have inside ChatGPT what I call my brand thread, right? And it's my whole human design conversation. Plus, it's questions that I asked it of like, based on this, what's the tone of this brand? What type of marketing strategy will fit? And it's kind of like my strategic, soulful business coach that I can ask questions to, like, hey, I'm really stuck right now. Help me understand what the best move is. And I know we're talking to ChatGPT, but because it's got all of our, who I am and who the business is, it's been really fun. And so I ask it everything of like, what type of intro should I do on this podcast? Or what type of copy do you think I should create that would resonate with this season? And so it will give me things like the direction right now should be calm, confident with cozy CEO energy. Or your content rules for the season should be to write to serve, not to prove. And your key themes this season should be sustainable success, life first businesses. So I'm not using it to create content like I would some other bots or other tools. I'm using it to like help me figure out the best next step. And so it's really helps me sort of step into this like more aligned phase because I feel like I'm doing some like soulful research before I take this next step. So if you're listening and you're still with me, and I don't know if you can hear the excitement from my voice. It's really, really fun. Here are some things that you can try in your own business. Treat your business like a person, right? Give it a birth date, define its values, ask what kind of energy does your business have, what makes it feel alive, and then use AI as a tool to reflect back to it, right? So you can run the human design analysis on your business. You can ask how you can work best together. You can ask the personality of your brand. You can then start to dig into more marketing specific strategies of like, what's a call to action using this voice? What's a marketing strategy or sales strategy that matches this energy? And then just start a brand thread that you have and that you could go back in and you can ask questions when you get stuck. I kind of think of it's like my business therapist right now. And don't overthink it and just save it and come back to it. And so here's the thing. Your business isn't just a strategy or a funnel or a goal. It's a living and breathing brand with its own energy. And so I think this is just a reminder that let's just honor that, right? Because everything will flow better. We're being more intentional. And as I've shared, this podcast has evolved into something deeper for me than just a weekly episode. Like it's a guidepost for you and for me and to run a business that actually feels good. So if this episode resonated with you, you want help uncovering your own brand personality and building a strategy that aligns with your life and not someone else's highlight reel, then that's honestly what Antisocial School and our Crush the Rush Club are here for. They are now combined. So when you join Antisocial School, you also get access to our club. And I would love for you to come check it out at hollymariehaynes.com/antisocial. So we're not just running businesses, we're building movements, and you deserve to do it in a way that works for you.